Hey, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you being here. This is number 3 of our monthly series that we've been doing. We were doing the weekly series for a while. Now we're doing the monthly series. And last month, it was pretty overwhelming response at the end of the stream that this time we should be looking at set. So today we're going to be doing the theories and practicalities and everything behind set with the scissors. Glenn's got a lot of really cool examples here to show you. And before we get started, I just want to let you know I'm Caleb, and I do sales and marketing here at Wolff Industries. This is Glenn Burke, and he is our master trainer here at Wolff Industries. So he does the classes and when we do the Wolff show with the Edge Pro and all that, he teaches the sessions. Before we jump in, though, I do want to let you guys know a few new things that we've got going on. So I like the example of who out there would like to make an extra $5,000. I know that I would. I think the answer to that is yes, of course. And so that is we're in and out of the shops all the time. That is one scissor a week. That's about one scissor a week. If we sold one extra scissor a week, that's an extra $5,000 we've added to our year. Easy to do. So to help with that, we have updated our Barber Beauty and Grooming brochures. We've got 3 separate brochures now. Previously we had one that was beauty on one side and grooming on the other. Now we've got 3 individual brochures. These are on our website in the digital format if you want that. We also have printed versions here that we can send to you. A couple of cool things about it. On the back, we have a space that we can print your information on it. So you can give us a call or email us, and we'll get your business name and address and phone number and email, whatever information you want us to print. We'll custom print these for you and ship them out to you. That way you can take them into the grooming shop or to the barber shop or whatever and give them to the stylist. They've got the selections and they've got your information. And I kind of wanted to go through, we've got in our beauty catalog, we have our Okami scissors that we've carried for a while now. We still have those in there, but we have added a few extra lines. There's more selections in there now than we had previously. We've got some really unique things. We've got the cool, rainbow colors. We have some black shears. We've got all the information here of what's available. We've expanded our selection above what we had in our previous catalog. So definitely send us a message or an email, and we will get these to you so you can check them out. But lastly, before I turn it over to Glenn, I wanted to talk a little bit. We have a new premier line of German Barber shears. So we wanted to go super old school and traditional. We kind of wanted to get into the heritage of where our company heritage came from, scissors, all that kind of stuff. So David Wolff and his son went to Germany to find a company that is making the traditional barber shear and still doing everything handmade. So what we have here is a new line of German barber shears, very, very traditional, beveled edge, corrugated, all that kind of stuff. Really high quality handmade shears. So we're real excited about these. These are really cool scissors. You just feel the difference when you use them. They're really neat. These are available now. So you can check out our website. You can go to I believe it's resources, and there's a catalog link there. You can click the catalog, and so you can look at what's available in here. You can check out all the German barber shears, the beauty shears, the grooming, and then let us know if you would like to customize any of these brochures for your customers. We've got kits available that have, a thinner and a shear in it. Comes with the tool, and so we've got a lot of cool stuff. So we're excited about that. We're trying to make things a little bit easier for you, a little more selection for making more money. That's our goal here with our education series, with everything we do, is how can we help you guys make more money?
How were they received? I know we sent these out to a shop. What
Yes.
are some of the feedback?
Yeah, so we have sent all these lines to be tested in some local barbershops here, and it was above and beyond. These were the preference. They actually, two of the people that had tested these for us had never used a beveled shear. They'd always used the Japanese style shear. So this is the first time they'd ever used a bevel shear with the serration, with the corrugation. And they absolutely loved it. Said it felt different anything they'd used before. It cut cleanly, it cut easily. It's lasted a long time. So we've done a lot of testing on it, and it seems to be people are very excited about these. It was different for them. These are available in larger sizes. It fits the barbershops real well. But yeah, it's cool. We're excited about it. Jump in the chat and let us know where you're from. I'm gonna get behind the camera and get up close here on some of what Glenn is doing. I'll be shouting out questions from behind the camera, and we'll have fun. Let's get into some set.
All right. I love these shears. I'm a huge fan of high quality German shears. When I was mobile, going to barbershops, they had a very poor opinion of the German style shears and the high prices, and they love good quality beveled shears. And I tell stylists, you need to have something like this in your toolbox, just so you're able to handle a wider variety of styling techniques. But we had good feedback on these shears, and that's what tickled me, to bring something on that your customer is going to enjoy. So it'd be good to have some of these with you. Send them out as loaners. Let girls try them out. They're very, very well made, handmade shear. Now, I do get questions on a weekly basis of, how do I do set? When do I know when to do set? Do you have to do set every time you sharpen? There's a ton of videos out there, and I still get guys calling me and saying, I don't know which one to believe. I don't know which one to listen to. There are some great instructors that have tried to help sharpeners out there, and this by no means is going to be the end all of your set questions. We're going to focus on the equipment that we sell. We're going to cover what you're trying to achieve with the set, and whether or not you need to put set in a shear. Getting started, Dan's going to throw up a graph. Set is your movement of a metal. This is a piece of just real soft steel. Your set is going to involve making a change to the shape of this steel. Now, I don't know if we can get up a little closer with this. You will have what's called elastic deformation. Elastic deformation means you put a force or a stress on a piece of metal, but when you relieve that stress, it goes back to its original shape, because you've only gone to the elastic part of the force, or part of that metal has a particular. Daniel, could you put that graph up? What you're seeing is the stress that's applied creates a strain on the metal, and that center blue line just means that it's going, it's bending, but as soon as the stress is removed, the strain returns the metal back to its original shape, back to its original position. Set occurs when you enter the plastic region, and plasticity is the deformation or a permanent change in the object's shape or size which cannot be reversed. The material does not return to the original shape when the force is removed. So in a forged shear, you may have a very large elastic region and a very large plastic region. In a cast shear, you may have a very, very short elastic region, a very short plastic region, and an immediate fracture. So you've got to be able to know whether or not you're dealing with a forged shear or a cast shear. This particular steel, we'll go ahead and go back to the front camera. This particular piece of steel, just a small amount of force keeps it within the plastic region, or elastic region, but it also has a very, very short elastic region because and you can see I have changed now sorry about that. I have changed the shape. This is so soft. I've gone into the plastic region and changed the shape on this. Now, trying to straighten that out, it's got a permanent change to it. I'm going to use my shirt as and so if this was a shear blade, I'd have to do a whole lot of work if I had put too much set in this. Now, how does this apply to a shear? Well, I took this same material and I created a shear. Pretty basic. I've got a decent ride area. Let me put this back on the light here. I've got a ride area right here, and I've got some set, but my set isn't quite right. You see where the blades are touching one another, come out, the tip is kind of flat. I got a gap out here at the tip. What this may look like on an actual shear is this. You can see where the shear is touching in front of my pivot area, and my blade is off of my flat piece. I can force this down, and if we can see, the tip is real flat, and we also have a gap at the very tip. So the set on this particular blade is off quite a bit. Let's go back to the little pretend scissor I've made here. We've got decent set right at the beginning, but now it's touching kind of in the center of the blade. I would like to change to the front here. I can actually, I haven't done anything to this. This is actually, you can see, it started to cut where the set is good. But the rest of the shear just started to fold the material over. What's fascinating is that we're going to add set to this, a little bit of twist. I mean, can you see where the one blade is twisted out away? We're going to add a little set, add a little twist to it, and get that actually cutting. One of the tools that Wolff Industries sells for you is a 1-ton press and I can't remember it's the set block for the 1-ton press. The way this is used, it's for heavier shears, like industrial shears. Those of you that have industrial customers, you would actually set the blade in here. Now this can be adjusted with this screw where the block can be moved in and out so that you can get early entry set. And with just a slight amount of force, you can make changes to these blades, manipulate the blades to get them to cut. This actually happens to be a curved shear. Speaking about a curved shear, you've got different types of set for different shears. It's going to be, your set is going to be based on the function of the shear. It's going to be on the blade length, the blade shape. Is it curved or straight? You're going to be a different type of set for a convex shear as opposed to a beveled shear. And then how much the shear has been sharpened. I asked one of the head engineer of our plant up in Indiana where we manufacture shears. I said, is set really affected every time you sharpen? He said, absolutely. Which, surprised me. He said, the set is affected as material is removed from the blade. Does set have to be adjusted every time you sharpen? He said, no, because the set is affected so little. You will get to a point where you have to adjust the set. I said, how much change is there if a shear is dropped? He says, well, it depends on the hardening of the shear, the material, how far it was dropped, with what force it was dropped, on what it was dropped. There's a lot of variables that play into what happens to that shear. On a general basis, no. Every time a shear is dropped, it's not going to affect the set. You're definitely going to have a nick in the blade, but it isn't going to necessarily affect the set. I had a lady who had her pack of shears in nice case, bifold. She had about 8 shears in there, and she was leaving. She left work, put her shears under her car seat. Well, in the drive, they had moved out from underneath the car seat. When she got into the car, out of the car, somehow she ran over her shears, the whole pack. And there was only 2 or 3 that were really affected negatively, but that was with a car driving over the whole pack of shears. So it takes a lot of force in some cases to change the set or the shape of the blade. This particular shear that we were looking at, the ride area has been removed quite a bit, so you've lost the high spot of your wedge. If this is the set of your blade from your ride area to the tip, okay, now this is actually going to be like this. But if this is your set, and now all of a sudden this is gone, and your pivot area is right here, you have nothing to force the rest of this blade in because you've lost the high side of your spring, the high side of this wedge. We had something like that happen with a pair of shears a sharpener sent in. See if I can't get this. I'm going to try and hide the name. If you can see, I don't know if I'll be able to, right here, there's a cutout for a nylon or a Teflon ride, that ride's gone. This shear is not going to work properly because you've lost the high side of you've lost half of your spring for this shear to work properly. Length of the blade, you don't need a very sharp set. I'll get my right area back in there. You don't need a very sharp angle for that right area to work properly. You don't need a very deep set. Let's see. Yeah, this is the one. If I can go back up, yeah. You can see the pivot area, you can see the contact in the right area, and a nice, clear set in each blade all the way to the tip. It is a beautiful example of good set. On a curve shear, there's a slightly small gap behind the pivot, but it's there. So you see contact in your right area, it goes all the way down the blade to your tip. You also want positive contact. Now, I don't know if we're going to be able to see it this way. All right. You want to be able to see positive contact between between the blades at each point as you're closing. Now, again, this 1-ton press is for your heavier shears, your large industrial shears. What we carry for the Grooming beauty shears are the brass set blocks and our nylon set blocks. Now what's interesting is you can use these instead of a 110. You can actually use the brass set block on industrial shears. The slots, you can see it here, the narrow slot just for working on tips. But the brass set block is what we use here in the plant, just because we are handling the industrial shears. Some of the pros and cons with the set blocks. Your nylon set block is not quite idiot proof, but it is ignorant proof. Ignorant friendly, I should say. It absorbs a lot of the force of the shear, a lot of the force, so it allows you to make easier, smaller movements, and that's what you want to do with set. It also, and I was going to leave that there. It's non-marring, and it can be used for slight and careful set on cast shears. And that's forged. This is cast. Is this a new shear?
Yes.
Okay, we don't want to be bending on that. The brass, it's more durable. It's for larger shears, heavier, thicker blades. And set can be added closer to the entry on these so that in the thicker part of the blade you can actually come in and work. Are you able to see that?
Is that close enough for you to make it closer?
Or I can go here.
Let's do the
Okay.
Let's do the overhead.
get seasick here. How's that, Dan? So you're able to get more set in the entry of the shear, where the smaller notches, I mean, this will work, but this puts more force directly into the blade, where your nylon block absorbs more of the force. You can watch the block move even on this. So this will absorb more of the force and allow you to make smaller incremental changes to the set on the blade. Your set is designed to, let's see, transfer the force of your pivot area all the way down the tip, all the way down to the tip, so that as you're closing the shear, this force right here is transferred all the way down, forcing the blades against one another. Now, when I showed you that it cut a little bit right here, I'm going to add a little twist, and I'm going to change that brass block again. Not a little too far out, man. There we go. Now what I want to do is get this shear. Might be a little too much. But you got this, Caleb.
Yeah.
Because as I said, I can now make a full cut on my paper. The funny thing about this is I haven't done anything to this. It's just two pieces of steel that I chopped off, buffed the ends. I haven't done any sharpening on it whatsoever. It's just a natural burr left behind by the manufacturing of this steel. But it's enough with the set to cut. If I needed to take some out, Daniel, I'd have to bend the blades away from one another. There's a tool out that shows the set. I'm going to try and get this where it's parallel with the screen. Let me get that over the light so we can see it properly. When we're setting flat on this test block, you can make adjustments so that your set is proper It's a little flatter now. This is helpful if you know how much that gap is supposed to be. But again, there are a lot of variables into how much this gap is supposed to be. One, how long the blade is, what type of edge you have. Jaguar has a computer setup where the set is added when the blades are separate. There are several manufacturers that I've checked into. They do their set once the blades are assembled, because obviously the blades have to work together. If your set isn't enough or it's too much, your blades are going to bite one another. So in their manufacturing process, they get all the grinding done. Typically it's CNC, and then they assemble the shear and make final set adjustments to the blades so that the blades work together. Do you have a question?
Yeah, that kind of plays into this question from Simon. He asks, when you're doing set, do you put set in both sides of the shear or only one side?
Simon, that's a great question. If you can see that it's obvious. Let me go to our curve shear. These shears are manufactured straight, okay? And then once they're assembled, the curve is set in them. But once the curve is put in, they have to test cut, okay? When the test cut is done, if it does not cut, then they have to come over to a set block, and they will take the inside curve of this shear, this being the outside curve, this being the inside curve, and they'll take that and they will straighten that blade out to create the proper set in the blades. Okay, so they're adding set to the thumb blade. Okay. When we are manufacturing industrial shears, we will use the finger blade to put the set in. When you are working with a beauty shear, I would suggest using the thumb blade. If you look at a shear and you notice that one has more curve than the other, work on the other blade. That's where your flat block will come in handy. You will want to work on the blade that has less set. You want the blades to be as close to the same set as possible, just for when they're working together. They work better when they are closest to being the same. When you've got the curve shears, it's again a different variable. It's not apples to apples. You're going to have to straighten one. One blade is going to have less set in it than the other, obviously. So when you're working with straight shears, you want the blades to have matching set. And I hope that answers your question, Brian.
I believe that's all the questions we have right now. You can keep going with the next.
Okay. Some of the cons, the nylon block is limited to smaller shears. It's limited to thinner shears. I know some guys were wanting to look at a cast shear. I will have to grab one real quick. The brass block, the cons on this is the rigidity means the shear is accepting more of the force. It may leave blemishes on the surface or the face of the shear, and it could cause damage to the cutting edge. Hammer set, I know there's a lot of guys that swear by using a hammer and an anvil or a heel dolly. If you're going to start practicing with a hammer set, you're going to want a nice, smooth, polished, rounded surface. Any blemish that's on the face of your dolly or your anvil is going to be transferred to your shear. I had a blade over here that I boogered up with a, where did I move that thing? I think, if we look at this, Dan, if you can see that dimple right out here in the entry, almost, there it is, right there. I did that with a set block, or with the anvil. You can see these blemishes here that the anvil left behind using the hammer. You want as smooth a surface, smooth, polished a surface as possible. You're going to use a brass hammer, or you're going to use a annealed steel hammer, a hammer that hasn't been hardened. You want a soft steel hammer. You can use an anvil. I've known guys that'll use heel dollies for auto body work, but you want it polished perfectly smooth. Is there another question?
No, we're good.
Okay. I want to get a blade real quick.
While he jumps to find an extra blade, I just wanted to go ahead and address some of the comments coming through, some of the shout outs we've had from different areas. We appreciate you guys watching. Tim, yes, the new German shears are Wolff branded. We have a new logo and new branding on these. So these are Wolff Industries shears. Bill Pierce can get you all of the rest of the information on that. Yes, there's going to be a discount available for sharpeners. Looks like going through, that's probably all the questions we have. While he's looking for that, we'll talk about what we're going to do next month. Next month, I believe, is going to be September 28th, is the Monday. At 11 a.m., we will be going over additional equipment that we sell, some of the other machines that we carry, and some other accessories that we carry, and kind of the details on how to use them. For instance, the scissor pliers and stuff like that. I don't know if you can hear me because of because of him digging through the scissors. Yeah, so you may not be able to hear any of that. You can let me know if y'all missed any of that. Good. I think we're wrapping up with this. I'll jump in as soon as he knocks it.
Okay, this is a cast shear, and I want to see if we can get a close up as much as we can with this one. As most of you sharpeners know, the shears that we get in for our economy line, or our economy shears, are cast. They're made from Taiwan. They hold an edge greatly. But I would check every single shear, 100%. I would do a single layer wet tissue test. And this is a Okami 100. It's very popular with the girls that like to cut middle finger. But it's just a great little workhorse of a shear. There are times when I'm testing, I would get a slight bit of wet tissue snagging on the tips. And so what I would do is can you see the flex? If you can see the flex there, that little tiny bit of flex would change the set right here at the tip. Now, I'm not going into a set block and just working. You got the top down, Daniel? There we go. I'm not going into a set block and just working the tip, because it will snap that right off. I'm actually applying the force over the length of the entire blade. Making changes to the set. You can see the flex in that. Now this is a cast shear. You have to be very, very careful. But I'm applying the force over the whole length of the blade and not just at the tip. If there are no other questions, when you're adding set, you want to make sure that you're taking the shears towards one another. The force is being applied to the inside of the blade. And be the same with where I'm bending towards the inside of the blade, and that's going to be adding your set. If you need a little set at the tip, start towards the back behind where you need the set and do it in small increments. Make a slight change. You may not have seen any kind of movement, but you have to go just slightly past where it's elastic into the plastic area, and that's where your changes are going to be made. This particular shear, I believe, is working quite well. So if there aren't any questions.
Yeah, we'll give a couple seconds here for some more questions to come through, and we'll start to wrap up. If you didn't hear earlier, because of going through the scissors and making all the racket, we're doing our next session. We're doing our next session September 28th, 11 a.m. Eastern, so whatever that time that is for you. We're going to be talking about some of our additional machinery, equipment that we sell, some of the extra accessories like the scissor pliers, and specifically what that is made for, how to use that, and we're going to be covering stuff like that. So if you have been watching this series for a while and there's something that we have not covered with regards to something we carry, something we sell that you haven't seen yet, please let us know. You can send me an email. My email is Caleb, C-A-L-E-B, @wolfind.com. Bill's email is in the chat. I saw that he just dropped that in there. You can always send him suggestions. If you have questions to follow up on this session, you can send them to Glenn, Glenn @wolfind.com.
One N.
One N.
One N.
Yes. We do have a question came through here from Doug. Does the temperature of the steel make a difference?
As long as you can hold on to it, that temperature is one of those yes but no. The warmer a shear is, we have there's a machine on the market that heats a blade up, heats the handle up, so that you can make adjustments to cast shears. It works, but if you're going to make huge changes to a cast shear, it's got to be hot. It's going to be hotter than you can hold on to. But if you're making real slight changes to the blade, you got to get the tip in a little bit. You're trying to add a little twist. The temperature, because the temperatures that you're dealing with is something that you're holding on to. It's not going to be so cold that it hurts your hand to be in your hand. It's not going to be so hot that it hurts your hand to be in your hand. So yes, temperature affects it. No, not by the changes that we need to put in. The greatest majority of your set is already going to be in the shear, whether it's ground in, forged into the shear, whether it's just little tiny changes that they made in the manufacturing process. Temperature is not going to make a difference for the small amount of change that you as a sharpener are going to have to make.
Cool, thank you. We just got a question in about the difference between cast and forged. if you go back, I believe it was our previous month, we covered that a little more in depth, but really quickly, what would be the way to tell the difference between cast and forge?
We got a down shot here. The quickest and easiest and most obvious is this sharp lip right here. And get my hands in the way so that if you can see that sharp lip in the right area, this little 90-degree area, that is a very, very good sign of a cast shear. As opposed to that, you see this right area, it's very smooth going into from the shank into the right area. It's very smooth. This is a good sign of a forged shear. And you will also have forged shears welded to iron or cast zinc handles. So, well, they don't weld it to cast zinc. Those are typically riveted, but they'll use a softer metal in the handle and a more expensive, harder alloy for the blade, and it'll be welded. But you're still going to have this smooth, ground-in transition that's going to be highly polished. Another example, you can see there is no lip whatsoever on this shear right behind the right area, right here. Where with the Kami Gold, or I apologize, with the Kami shear, this is from Taiwan, you can see that real distinct lip. And it is a very sharp 90-degree edge right there. This is a good indicator of a cast shear. Be very, very careful. You can see this particular shear has no lip whatsoever. You know, you're pretty sure this is a forged shear.
Yeah, to go a little more in-depth in the difference between cast and forged, check out the video from last month. I believe it is titled Wolff Monthly number 2, so you can check that out. I believe that's it for questions. We thank you guys for hanging out with us. Today was a long session, and a lot of it was into the theory of how set works, and it's a difficult thing to show on a camera. So if you still have a lot of questions about it, you can contact us. We also recommend coming and taking the class with Glenn. You can get your hands on, you can use the blocks, all that kind of stuff, and that will getting your hands on it will really help kind of solidify the theories behind what we were talking about. Hopefully you saw what we were trying to get across with the lights and the cameras and everything. But we're always here for questions. I believe that's it for this week. We'll see you next month, September 28th, Monday morning at 11 a.m. on our YouTube channel here. We appreciate it very much. See y'all next time.